Welcome to Together, a higher ed podcast where we bring you stories, insights, and experiences from voices across the higher education sector. I'm Chase Haygood, the Vice Provost for Student Success here at the University of Utah. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Arthur Brooks of Harvard University. Welcome to the podcast, Arthur.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
We're really glad to have you here. I'd like to get started by asking you to just share a little bit about your journey in higher education, what brings you to the work. And to do that, our listeners, our viewers are going to know your work, no doubt, from many places, including the Atlantic, a really incredible presence throughout the world, books, I think at least 15 at this point, if not more. More coming soon, so I'd invite you to chat about that if you'd like. But much of your scholarship, so if I can contextualize the scholarship of late from you has emphasized really the importance of relationship, right? The belonging that we all seek and how we can find perhaps happiness,
right, or
produce happiness. I'm wondering if you could share with listeners and viewers a bit about how higher education institutions, how they contribute to that. What role do they play in fostering the kinds of connections that you've written so much about?
Yeah. So to start with, you asked about my own higher education journey, and it was a circuitous one. Higher ed is kind of a vortex in my family. It's the family business. So my grandfather was the dean of students at Wheaton College and taught theology and philosophy. My father was a mathematician and spent most of his career at Seattle Pacific University. And you know, there's kind of an inevitability when your father and grandfather are academics, but I tried to avoid that. I didn't actually go to college traditionally. I left after about a semester when I was 18 years old, and I spent my 20s on the road as a classical musician, as a matter of fact. And the assumption was I never was going to go to college at all. But, you know, when you're an academic, college hunts you down sooner or later. And so I wound up actually taking a degree by correspondence in my late 20s. I graduated about a month before my 30th birthday, and I was just so interested in these crazy things I'd never thought about before. I'd never done anything but music, but I was studying behavioral sciences and statistics and mathematics and, you know, foreign languages and theology and philosophy. I just couldn't get enough. And so I went and got a master's degree, still hungry. I quit music and went and got my PhD. And then I became an actual academic. My dad said, "Told you so." And sure enough. And so I spent the next 10 years, most of it at Syracuse University, at the Maxwell School, which is the public affairs school, and also at the business school. And then that's where I took my promotions and tenure, et cetera, et cetera. Then I took 10 years off, a little more than 10 years off, and I ran an academic non-university, a think tank in Washington, D.C., full of PhD-level scholars. I ran that as the president, but I couldn't stay away. I left when I was 55 years old, and I talked to 10 universities, and I took an appointment at Harvard, and it was like coming home. It was really like coming home. So it sucked me in. The black hole of academia got me, you know, and a lot of people listening to us, they're like, yeah, I know. But
universities have a way of doing that, right? I mean, they just pull you right back in.
Yeah. I mean, home for me is not where I grew up in Seattle. Home for me is campus. I love higher ed. I'm going to be an educator for the rest of my life. I mean, the whole vibe of it is great. But that speaks to the second part of your question, which is belonging. And that has changed a great deal in the last 20 years of my life. When I left higher ed at the end of 2008, higher ed was a happier place than the rest of society. And when I came back 10 years later, it was a significantly unhappier place than the rest of society. And the data bear this out. This is not vibey. This is not, you know, an impression. On the contrary, if you look at the data, you find that college students, especially at good universities and colleges, they have way higher than average rates of depression and anxiety. They did not before 2008, and today they do. And it's been going up and up and up and up. So clinical depression on college campuses has about quadrupled over that period. And so when I came back in 2019, it's like a plague had gone through my village. And then I saw it get worse during the coronavirus epidemic and during the period of political polarization and activism on campuses. And this stuff has been really, really deleterious to mental health. So I've dedicated my life, my career as a behavioral scientist, to figuring out why and figuring out how to solve it. That's what I'm all about today.
Nice. So the space then in which, as we think about higher education, I would say students as well as faculty and staff, I mean, I wonder if you agree with this, Arthur, like as you look upon return, say in 2018, wherein all of us, not just on a university campus, but society writ large, we can focus energy at a university if we can, struggling with the questions of purpose, right? I'm wondering advice that you might have for finding that meaning in work and in academic pursuit, what one does with your life, especially in environments that can be stress inducing. Right?
For sure.
Or that can be highly competitive.
Right. No, that's true. And you know, the strivers on good college campuses, including University of Utah, have always struggled with this. The trouble is that what's missing now, beyond the struggle, is the sense of meaning. So what I see when I actually interview young people, when I look at the data and I run the tests and I do all the models and all the things that behavioral scientists do, is that you find a very, very unfortunate combination of a sense of pressure with a sense of meaninglessness. That's an obnoxious combination.
Sure.
If you have a sense of pressure with a sense of meaning, I mean, even Friedrich Nietzsche, not known for his optimism, says if you have a why, you can put up with any what. You know, and that quote was quoted in the beginning of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. In that book, you know, the idea that, you know, how do you get through Auschwitz was what he was talking about.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
it's a really important thing. But the truth of the matter is, if you're trying to do something that's really hard, which college is, if you're taking it seriously, and you have a feeling of deadness and emptiness, and woe be unto you, and that's exactly what's happening today. So the issue is not the self-care that comes from trying to lower the pressure. The issue is actually how to amp up the meaning. That's what we need to do. And we've been working on the wrong variable. People have been saying there's too much pressure and it's too difficult. And
Or like avoiding the struggle.
Yeah, no, don't avoid the struggle. Actually put the meaning back. And that's what we need to do. And that's the focus of my attention, the focus of all my energy. I have a book coming out called The Meaning of Your Life.
Yeah.
Finding Purpose in an Age of Emptiness is coming out next April. And what I found in this is just blown my mind. It's just what has actually happened to the brains of young people in the age of misuse of technology, especially those of college age. That's what's obliterated the sense of meaning, and it's done nothing to lower their sense of pressure. Which, by the way, I don't want to lower pressure. I don't want it. I want struggle, man. I want strivers are going to strive. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, but it better be for meaning, because if it's not, it's no good.
I mean, I think what I saw from you earlier today
that's right. That's right. You saw my lecture on this.
Engaging with University of Utah students. I mean, I sat in the back of the room, Arthur, so I could get a nice vantage point, you know, good perspective on all the students in the room, and they are with you. I mean, there was one student in the back that every time your slide advanced and you were moving them along to kind of a deeper understanding of, as you describe, again, what caught me, and I think what caught a lot of students in the room, it's not about avoiding that struggle. It's about seeing the struggle in a different kind of way, as in it is productive. It's part of the human experience, that it's kind of been interrupted by what we're putting in front of ourselves all the time, and avoiding boredom. Do you want to comment on that really quick?
Totally. I mean, it all comes down to struggle for what?
Yeah.
And if you don't know for what, in other words, why, it's going to be no good is what it comes down to. And it's funny because a couple of different things have actually played into this. And a lot of what I described to the students today, and what I'm talking about a lot, and what my book is about the neuroscience of what's actually happening. You process questions of meaning in the right hemisphere of your brain. Mm-hmm. You do all of your technical tasks, you know, your classwork and your exams, but also your use of technology and your distracting entertainment on the web and on your phone. That's on the left side of your brain. And if you spend 100% of your time, or nearly 100% of your time, doing that stuff, looking at screens, staying inside, isolated from people, and then on your phone, you're going to be on the left side of your brain. You're not going to have access to the hemisphere of your brain that you need to find meaning, and that's what's actually going on. Now, I understand the work part. Work has become technologically focused. The really distressing thing is what people are doing when they're not working. And that's what gets to this question you just asked about boredom.
Yeah.
We, in our genius, have figured out a way to obliterate boredom. And we do this all the time. I mean, human beings are just unbelievably good at solving a small problem and making a huge problem. You know, to obliterate pain, we invented opiate painkillers, which are now killing 100,000 Americans a year through opioid addiction. We want a little bit of entertainment that juices our dopamine system. We created casinos, which ruin people's lives. Yeah. We have loneliness and wanting to feel a momentary love. We created pornography, which is destroying generations of young people today and their ability to actually find true love and form couples. These are incredibly dangerous, addictive, and deleterious things. And the latest entrant into this is the smartphone, which is an anti-boredom device. People have a complete inability and unwillingness to face boredom. And I get it. I got a smartphone too. And I got a brain just like anybody else. And what happens is, I mean, Mother Nature is so wicked. Mother Nature needs us to feel bored such that we engage parts of our brain, a set of structures called the default mode network, which is very important for us to find the meaning of our lives. But we don't like it. But Mother Nature doesn't care, and there was no choice. I mean, Chase's great-grandfather was like, following a mule with a plow around some field in Utah someplace. And he was pretty bored.
Yeah.
And his life was, doing his job, and his brain was working on these meaning questions, sort of chewing away on these existential ideas. But he never went home to your great-grandmother. To begin with, he never went home and said, my job is so interesting, because it wasn't. But he also never went to great-grandma and said, I'm depressed. Why? Because he actually had a very strong concept of the meaning of his life. Our brain isn't working right anymore because we've turned to screens indoors alone for work and study, and we spend the rest of our time behind our devices. Yeah. And that's made meaning inaccessible. Not only do we not know what meaning is, we're not even asking the question.
Just really powerful stuff, Arthur. I want one correction to the record just for any family member that's watching. Great-grandfather, rural, behind a donkey, yes, but in rural Alabama, not in rural Utah.
Alabama.
So,
there you go. That. Okay, yeah.
I mean, same context, just a different place.
So when did the Haygoods come to Utah?
These Haygoods came about 4.5 years ago. Me,
really?
My wife, and my son, who was then 6 months old, but is now pushing 5 years.
Nice. So your son's a Utahn.
He is a Utahn.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
Growing up
Are you still Alabaman? I can kind of hear it.
Yeah, more of a Georgian at this point because I spent a lot of years at the University of Georgia.
Oh, you're a Bulldog.
I am a Bulldog.
Nice.
Go Dogs. Right
Go Dogs, there you go. Yeah, but Utes?
Yeah.
You got to be cheering for them.
I am cheering for my Utes. It's a convenient same color red.
Oh, I see. So you'd actually have to get new gear.
I mean, I got a lot of red ties.
There you go.
And nobody asks.
Yeah, nobody asks. Don't ask, don't tell.
That's
you just
right.
tell. You just told everybody. You told,
Well, for any of the viewers and listeners.
And there's 5 million people listening to us right now.
No doubt about it. Follow-up question will be on this. I am fascinated by your work, and I mean that sincerely, because I will say this, it gave me a frame of reference. It gave me language that I did not have before. So I'm a historian by training. Of early America. So I read a lot of neuroscience. I read a lot of new science of learning. The notion, though, and this interconnectivity or this interweb of the dark triad is fascinating stuff. And I have shared that now, the article in The Atlantic that summarizes a lot of it, with probably 20 or 30 colleagues. Not just here at the university, but as all of us, like throughout all of our social and professional networks. With that in mind, and from your perspective, what leadership practices do you think of that are most effective for cultivating the kinds of cultures of trust, of cooperation, mutual support? I'll even add joy in academic communities, in particular in this moment of change. Like, what's working? I think too often right now we get sidetracked in the things that aren't working. I'm wondering if you could kind of shift our perspective around the things that are working.
Do you want me to start by defining the dark triad?
Please do.
You threw that bone out there,
Please
right?
do.
People got to be wondering about that.
Please do.
Because it sounds like a Batman movie or something, right?
Well, yeah, I tell you what, it changed the way I see the world.
Yeah, I'm great friends with a psychologist from Columbia named Scott Barry Kaufman, he's the world's leading expert on this constellation of 3 personality characteristics, which forms what is known in the behavioral science profession as the dark triad. That's not good to be dark triad, by the way. That's not, it's unlike the Dark Knight. It's not. The dark triad is to be above the population average in narcissism, which is a clinical designation, Machiavellianism, which is also a designation which denotes not just an obsession with yourself, but also a willingness to hurt other people to get what you want, to harm other people for your ends, and traits of psychopathic traits. Above average. That doesn't mean you're an axe murderer, sneaking around at night. It just means you're above average. And what they have in common is they're remorseless about when they actually hurt other people, and they tend to be extremely unempathetic. So again, you don't have to be at the extreme, like lock them up right now.
Sure.
But if you're above average across these 3 things, there are some behavioral patterns that we see that are pretty alarming and pretty deleterious for society. And that's a lot of what I've studied. The extent that dark triads, they are, when they're at the extreme, they're most responsible for crime. is what we see. And so in the prison population, you have a huge propensity to see dark triads. So in the general population is 1 in 14 people, 7% of the population. Every single person listening to us knows dark triads. It's like, I'll always say, it's your first husband, is the dark triad. But there's a lot of people. They tend to be more men than women, but it's both, is what we find. And they're super overrepresented on dating apps, for example. So what you find in dating apps is that women find 80% of men unattractive. Men on dating apps find 20% of women unattractive. That asymmetry is highly problematic, and it means that some small percentage of men get all the hits on dating apps, and that draws in dark triads. That's a magnet for dark triads because they can actually prey on people that are looking for the people that present the best. Dark triads look very, very attractive. They know what to say. They know how to look. They're not trying to figure out if this is a good relationship. They're trying to seduce you. Maybe it's to seduce you to take your money. Maybe it's to get a job. Maybe it's to get a promotion. Maybe it's to steal your work. Or maybe it's actually to become your romantic partner for the next 10 minutes, whatever it happens to be.
Sure.
But that's what dark triads do. And that's one of the reasons that dating apps are so perilous, is because they're a magnet for these dark triads, is the way that it works. You also see them in particular professions that are extremely narcissistic. They draw people to be adored by others, but they don't require any hands-on care for others. So you don't find dark triads who are nurses, for example.
I see.
You find dark triads who are entertainers and politicians a lot, right?
Sure.
You find that if you can be held accountable for your actions, you won't find that many. So you don't find very many CEOs who are dark triads. And people often say, oh, the CEO is a bunch of dark triads. No. If people don't want to work for you, and your board is going to think you're a jerk, you're not going to succeed. And so capitalism is really good for getting rid of dark triads, is the way that it works. It's when you have these non-market situations. Okay, now to campus.
Yeah.
Where do we find them? And this is controversial research, I will admit. It's not my research, but it's interesting nonetheless that you tend to find dark triads in campus activism. That's where you tend to find it. And again, I don't want that to be the case, because there's a place for activism on campuses, and social activities are a really important part of campus life. But in a period of high political polarization, then the people on the extremes that are screaming the loudest and trying to mobilize people to really pretty audacious political causes, to make people really angry and fire them up, that's catnip for dark triads. It really is. And there's some really good research, and if you want, we can put it in the show notes.
Sure,
on some of the papers that actually show that you have a disproportionate number of people in a lot of highly strident campus activist movements that fit this personality constellation. And it's making misery for a lot of students, a lot of people today. How do you make people more comfortable? How do you create more comedy? How do you create more community? And the answer is less politics. Yeah. That's the way you do it. You talk about things that we actually all care about, as opposed to the things that are dividing us.
Yeah, shared sense of values in a way that's like, we might not exactly agree on how to get there, but we agree that the end is perhaps necessary for...
Yeah, for sure. But there's also things that we love, like football.
Yeah.
Football's great for that, because who says, I hope the Utes lose at the University of Utah? I've never heard that.
Right.
You can be a Democrat or Republican. You can be a communist or a free market absolutist, and you still want the Utes to win. Yeah. But that's an example. I mean, that's a ridiculous example, but you get the idea.
So the foil then of that triad, if you will, if there is one, but let's think about the inverses of those kind of qualities. How do we bring those out? How do we celebrate those? How do we say those are the kinds of things that we want to see more of in leadership? And in leadership, I mean, I see leaders in almost every walk, right? In almost every station. Students are leaders. They've got their position in a leadership.
Right.
I mean, there is kind of positionality and all that, for sure, varying levels of power and all that. But, from faculty, administrators, students, in a way that kind of mutual support and joy can emerge.
Yeah. So that's the light triad.
Yeah.
And Scott Barry Kaufman talks about that a lot too. And the good news about that is that while 7% are dark triads, 50% of people are light triads. They tend to get marginalized in a highly polarized environment. I mean, if you're a light triad running for president, good luck to you. It's like, I love everybody. I love all Americans. Let's have a normal conversation. It's like, Spencer Cox is a light triad, right? He's great in this way. He has strong opinions, but he wants to listen to everybody, which is why he talks about love your enemies, and that's great.
Disagree better.
For sure, but that might be kind of unique to Utah.
Sure.
And there's certain ecosystems that lend themselves to it. This one, Taylor Randall's a light triad. He wants to make things better. He's got points of view, but he doesn't think he's right all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the light triad? The light triad is the opposite of the dark triad, obviously. So you're not, you're the opposite of being a narcissist. You're really very much other focused. You're not a Machiavellian. You're not willing to hurt other people, even to your own ends. And you're certainly not psychopathic. You're highly empathetic and you're remorseful when you do things wrong. That's the kind of leaders that we want, and that's what we need to actually reward.
Yeah.
We got to stop rewarding dark triads. To say that, if you do something really outrageous on campus and say terrible things, that we're going to exceed your demands. No, do not give a dark triad rewards. Don't do it, because you're just going to get more dark triads is what you're going to get. And that means more misery, more problems, et cetera, et cetera. Reward the light triads who are looking for ways to have dialogue and have differences of opinion and treat each other right and show love for one another. And you get more of what you subsidize.
Yeah, fair point. So I'm going to move us along, but I want us to think about, if there's a bridge to that, then a mindset shift or a habit kind of development, if you will, where individuals in higher ed, whoever they might be, could you describe that kind of mindset or habit that people could adopt within higher education to think about the kind of stronger connections, greater well-being, a true kind of phenomenon of flourishing?
Right.
At any of our universities, with the hope, at least from my perspective, that would spill over, right? Because what we do in any of our universities, be it Harvard or Utah or wherever, spills over into society, right?
For sure.
We educate students that are going to go off into the world of work and live really amazing lives.
Right.
What more, or what kinds of habits or mindsets do you think need to happen in our universities today?
Well, I strongly recommend that everybody coming into a university have a class on being a light triad.
Nice.
And I really recommend that people become acculturated to that. Because what that does is that is a statement of values of the university. This is who we are. And a lot of people come into the university and they say, like, I've come here to teach my professors a thing or two. I've come here, students come in, no. You've come here to learn from your colleagues and learn from students and learn from staff and you're learning. You're here to learn, and other people are going to learn from you too, and that's a really good thing. But these characteristics of the light triad: serving other people, open dialogue, listening with generosity, saying I might be wrong, epistemic humility.
Yeah.
And again, the epistemic humility is not exactly rewarded in America today, but what that is, that's intellectual humility, saying I actually might be wrong. No. Actually, you know what? You are wrong. You just don't know on what yet. So you better hang out with people who disagree with you, so you might find out, because it's better to know sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to my side, and and trigger warnings and safe spaces and speech is violence and cancel culture, and no, that's a complete violation of the academic pursuit. That's unintellectual. That's a scandal that would actually be on campuses today. And the way that you get rid of that is by having a complete statement of policy neutrality as a university, an inviolable statement of free speech, and a culture where we listen to each other and say, if that's not for you, well, that's why God made a whole bunch of other universities. And then invite them to take their talents elsewhere.
Where do you think how did that escape us? As I listened to you, Arthur, and the way in which, Richard Hofstadter would write about this kind of anti-intellectualism that kind of emerged and took us off track for a minute, right, in the middle of the 20th century. Like, he
said that was a right-wing phenomenon.
Yeah,
but the truth of the matter is it's an extremist phenomenon.
It's across all continuum,
of course.
Right? I mean, it
Yeah, no. I mean, it turns out that Hofstadter was right about that impulse, but he was wrong about it being perpetuated only on one side of the ideological spectrum.
Point taken. I'm interested in then, how do we come back round to a space where we can, as Governor Cox would say, disagree better, or to your point just now, say that, anything that's or anti, to borrow Hofstadter, anti-intellectual or unintellectual, that has no home on a college or university campus.
Right.
Because this is a place of learning.
Right.
And if you come here, faculty, staff, student, mostly student, the emphasis on learning there, but we all should be open to learning. Our ability to say, look, if we do our jobs right and you do your job right, student X, you're going to leave this place transformed, both you and the place.
Right.
right?
For sure.
How do we get back to that?
Well, we do that by actually providing more opportunities and by modeling it more. Plus, with the expectation that violating that is not accepted. It's just not accepted. It's not acceptable is the way that it works. And that really is cultural opprobrium.
Yeah.
That's not just about rules. Like, if you shut down a speaker, of course you're getting kicked out if you shut down a speaker. Of course you are. We don't do that because that's against the rules.
Yeah.
If you camp on the quad, well, you're going to be trespassed for a couple of years. I mean, those are normal things to do. I mean, that's just treating adults like adults, and that's basic respect for the students, for sure.
Yep.
Of course. But more importantly, it's this kind of cultural model that we've got where you see people who love each other and disagree, and people who are exposed to dangerous ideas and find it exciting.
Sure.
It's like, come on, bring it on, man. I mean, it's like academia should be an extreme sport.
Yeah.
It should be the kind of thing where it's like, I heard the craziest thing. What'd you hear? Tell me.
Right.
As opposed to, I'm going to write on social media, we got to get that professor fired. I realize that's not going on at the UU.
Yeah.
But it's going on in a lot of higher ed.
It is.
And actually having the culture where that's just lame, man. That's just not something that we do. That's just gross. That's just dumb. That's beneath us is the way that works. And you get that by having student leaders who are doing that and faculty are doing that and modeling that all the time and just like, bring on the disagreement. Then let's have dinner.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
With the thinking is, so the logical extension, I'm going to get us to our last question, but the logical extension of that is that we become a better place because of it, right?
For sure. Absolutely. And we know that's the case because we've all been part of communities where there's all this disagreement. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm working with families. I know so many people, and I know lots of families that just love each other and have zero political agreement. And I know some families that can't talk to each other because of minor political disagreements. And it has everything to do with the rules of the road.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with what's most important. And if your politics is your religion, that's a big problem. If love is the vehicular language of your community or family, it's all great.
Yeah.
It's all great because everything's subordinated to that.
Right.
If you love each other and you love learning and you love ideas and you love the competition of ideas, then you actually can't agree. Because agreement becomes a kind of form of mediocrity. It's like having one product in the supermarket.
Yeah.
It's having one candidate on the ballot. Who wants that?
It's the wrong kind of boredom.
Yeah, it's the wrong kind of boredom.
All right. Talk about one of the most exciting conversations we've had on the podcast, Arthur. I'm really, really grateful. I'm going to get us to the last question. We ask everybody the last question, which is, in your view, how can we in higher education work together to create the kind of lasting and meaningful change that can enrich our institutions, the people within them, and the public we serve?
Yeah.
How do we do this work of higher education? How do we do it together?
We do it by actually looking for common things that we believe in common that are greater than we are, by serving things that are bigger than us. Higher ed gets into a ditch when it becomes a vocational and technical education, when it becomes a way that I can just get basic job skills. It's a way that I can actually get ahead. It's a way that, I can show my bona fides as somebody with immaculate political, ideas. That's a problem. But if we all have something bigger than we are, then this is actually what propels any part of society. So if a university works with its local community, for example, to do something bigger than us, what's bigger than us? What do we want? What's a better future? What's my place in this better future that we can all work on together? Then it's great. Now, the easiest way to do that is to have a common threat. This is one of the reasons that clinical depression falls by 75% when a country is under siege from a foreign enemy in war. Right? I don't want that. I want to find a better way to do it.
Yeah.
The way to do it that's not that common threat. Even after 9/11, when the country really came together, I didn't like 9/11. I would like to find a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And the better way to do that is a common cause for the common good. Common cause for the common good. And the great thing about big state universities in cohesive communities where people actually care about what they're doing is they're ideally suited to do that. So, University of Utah was originally the University of Deseret. And that's because it was supposed to typify, it was supposed to be the intellectual head of the spear of this community. That's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be, we're going to go find the ideas that move this community forward. We're not going to just offer classes that help you find a good job, right? No. We're going to do what Utah needs all together. That's the spirit that actually holds people together in common cause.
Yeah. From then to now, 175 years.
Beautiful.
we've been after that mission here at the University of Utah. Arthur, I can't thank you enough for spending some time, for being here, an impact scholar, for being with our students, visiting with our faculty, having a really positive impact on the University of Utah. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
We are grateful to you for
I
that.
love it here. This is a great place. And it couldn't be a more beautiful place, too. Every time I come, winter, summer, spring, I don't care if it's people say, oh, sorry, it's raining. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The mountains are still there.
That's right. It is a lovely place to be, to visit, to live.
And it's about the people. Fundamentally, it's about the people. So thank you for being part of it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Viewers, listeners, this has been Together, a higher ed podcast. Join us next time.